Welcome to the world of Street Fighter! Are you a fighter looking for your next challenge? Or just passing through on your journey?
Now, this is the stuff that you get when you launch the game in Street Fighter. It was in the beta when I played it. I don't know if it's still in. But the problem is that it's immersion breaking. This is not Street Fighter aesthetics. It's Californian aesthetics. This is what Gavin Newsom likes. This is what the Democrats enjoy. The rest of us, humanity, not so much. We tolerate it, but it's not something that we would pay $70 for, right? So it's kind of forced on us. Like, we like the package, we like the brownie, we just don't like the carrot that was snuck in. Now, interestingly enough, when you do a little bit of research on the game, you find out that many female characters were censored. In fact, the word female is censored as well. It's now body type B. So there are no more women in Street Fighter. It's just body type Bs. All the male are fine. Like, the men, as you can see, they have pecs even when it's not needed. They don't wear any type of shirt. They're very sexualized. I mean, I don't know if you can sexualize more than this. Although, you know, maybe this is a body type B. I don't know. Right? It's very ambiguous. I asked ChatGPT if it can tell me if this is a man or a woman. Even ChatGPT didn't know what the fuck the artists were trying to make. And if you actually read the academic literature, which is what a lot of people don't want to do, they specifically talk on why they behave this way. They behave this way because they want to gaslight the consumer into believing that this is what a desirable woman looks like. Right? Like, every single woman has to be a Democrat. It has to be coming from California. That is the standard of beauty. And if you like the previous standard of beauty, if you like the Rainbow Mika, if you like the Cammy, if you like the Juries of the past, you're a disgusting Khmer. You're an incel. You're at the border of society. This is what the doctors and the engineers like. This is what a good person has to like. So in other words, every single game has fan service for gay people. Like, if you transition, if you like men, there is fan service for you, as you can see. Meanwhile, the female characters are being covered up. And then even the female characters, they have the word female removed, it's body type B, and then eventually broad shoulders, strong jawline, masculine features, and if you don't like that, you're a Khmer. Now, granted, when it comes to Capcom, they have a long way to go. They have like 4 years to catch up, because the AAA companies in the West, they worked hard to get to the point where they are now. So, like, Capcom is just starting. They're just beginning their journey on embracing the woke aesthetics. And as you can see here, they flat out admit that they are considering hiring non-Japanese directors. Like, they're not saying that Japanese directors are doing a bad job. They're not saying that Japanese directors are asking for more cash. No, what they're saying is that literally racism. Like, when hiring for directors, if they see that you're a Japanese, they will say, no, we have too many of you guys. We want to hire someone from California. We want to hire some Democrats into our companies because this is what the modern audience likes. And there are several reasons for this. Number one is the grift. All these consultants that are giving these bad ideas to the companies, they're paid very well. They're paid better than your mother and your father put together, just to put it like this. So there is financial incentive for them to do this. And in exchange, they get cheap loans. They get cheap loans from America, they get cheap loans from BlackRock, and they have to publish their diversity quotas. And because they're a Japanese company, even though they can hire from different prefectures from Japan and they can hire different Japanese citizens, it's not enough. They need to hire Americans. They need to hire from California. Like, California now is the spice melange. Every single entertainment company covets the people from California. If you're born in California, you're in luck. It doesn't matter if you know how to code or not. They covet you. They desire you. They need you into their company so they can show to their investors, look, we have Californians. And of course, once that happens, you're going to have the competency crisis, because money that was supposed to be allocated to mission critical success is now allocated to this bullshit. The aesthetics suffer because people from California, they're hardwired differently. They do not like the same aesthetics as the rest of us. And as I said, you know, like right now, Street Fighter is in a good place still. Even though you kind of notice like a Marisa here or there, you notice a little bit of bizarre aesthetics appearing. And I guarantee to you, as time goes on, you will have more Marisas and you will have less Juries. And all the women are going to be dressed even more. They're going to have stronger jawlines. And that is their future. Because we already know, we already seen how it's happening with AAA game development. This is what's going to happen with Capcom as well. It's unfortunate. I don't think it can be saved. But we'll see. Hopefully if Ubisoft doesn't sell well and companies in the West aren't performing well, apparently the Xbox Season Pass was something that isn't working, then maybe they can change course. From what I know, Japanese people, they are extremely conservative. They don't like making risky business decisions that promise the more success in the future, but the risk is also great. So they like to do things that works. Unfortunately, however, there's also companies like Sony, which had its CEO coming up having to remind people, hey, we're still a Japanese company, to which everyone told them, no, you're not. You're a Californian company. Now, take into account that the reason they're hiring these grifters and these consultants is also due to Sony and the platforms. Video games now do not have the freedom that they used to have in the early 2000s or the 90s. Back then, you could create whatever video game you wanted. It literally didn't matter. Anything you wanted, you could create. There was no censorship whatsoever. And that's how we got games like Manhunt and Postal and even the previous GTAs. All of those games existed because people had the freedom to create whatever they wanted. Unfortunately, however, now it's not the same. Now there's different laws in various countries. For instance, there are countries that do not allow any drinking into the game. This is why Capcom has herbal medicine rather than alcohol for Jamie. There are others that do not allow drugs to be used in the game. This is why Fallout doesn't call their addictive substances drugs. They call it jet or whatever, but they don't use the actual word drugs, depending on the localization, actually. But you have all these laws from various countries, which they restrict freedom to some degree. But then you also have the consoles themselves. So the publisher, like Steam, has its own terms of service. Steam would never allow a game like early GTA to be released today, or like Postal. The reason you have them is because they have been grandfathered in. But now they would be violating Steam's terms of service regarding racism and disparaging conduct towards minorities and groups. So you have to take into account the legislations from various countries. You have to take into account the legislation from the distribution platform. In this case, it would be Sony and Steam. You have to take into account Twitter, right? The activists. You don't want your game to be review bombed. You want to take into account the journalists. So as you can see, the list of grievances and what you are allowed to create becomes smaller and smaller. And this is where you have places like Capcom hiring these consultants. And the idea with the consultants is look, we got connections to the game media, we got connections to Steam, we got connections to Sony, and if you hire us, we guarantee to you that these platforms are going to approve your game, but you gotta make these changes. And on top of that, you also get good loans from BlackRock. So this is why these companies are making these bizarre decisions that don't seem to have much choice. It's because the customer has been removed from the equation. Up until recently, the customer wouldn't boycott. So they wouldn't even fucking care. It's okay, well, we serve the customer slop, and they're going to buy the slop, because, what else are they going to do? They're not going to complain. They're just going to play, what else are they going to play, right? If every company does what we do, then the customer will have no choice. And it turns out that recently the customer actually did start boycotting, so a lot of these companies will have to rethink their business decisions, because even the platforms themselves, they still need to sell games. And when they see that Stellar Blade is selling, when they are seeing that Nikkei is selling, when they're seeing that Snowbreaker is selling, and these aren't AAA games, these are phone games, right? Except for Stellar Blade. But they're noticing that there is a market to be had there, and they're being gaslit by their own consultants. And they're going to be okay, but we need to make money, because otherwise we can't afford the consultants. So they're going to slowly start changing things if the customers actually remain steadfast and stop supporting bad business practices. Again, Street Fighter right now is in a good place. You start noticing the changes. Street Fighter is basically where AAA used to be back in 2016. I think that a little bit before Mass Defect Andromeda, like they're kind of like at that level. So they have a long journey until they will arrive to Forspoken. But that's their path. Like they are traveling towards the Forspoken path right now. So anyway, let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.